Welcome to another night in the NBA. This is your 10-minute recap of the last night of NBA hoops. And we had a few interesting topics today that we could have covered as the main one, but I want to start off with Kings versus Lakers, a battle of teams from California, and more importantly, a battle between two of the best big men in the NBA, Domantas Sabonis and Anthony Davis. But prior to this game, Domantas Sabonis was 9-0 versus Anthony Davis in his career. It was complete and utter domination. But early on in this game, it didn't look like that might be the case, because after the first quarter, we're tied 29-29. The Kings go up 4 at the half, but it still feels like a very manageable game. But the Kings own the third quarter, beating the Lakers by 11 points in the third and essentially putting the game out of reach. The Kings go on to win it 120-107, but it felt like the fourth was pretty much like not needed because the Kings already owned the game. It didn't feel like they were giving it up, and after that third quarter, it just felt like the Kings game and they were running it. And Domantas Sabonis again wins versus Anthony Davis, 10-0 in his career versus AD. And you might say, oh, it's just, a team thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the two big men. You can say that, but you'd be wrong. Anthony Davis just can't defend a guy as big and as strong as Sabonis, it seems like, because there was a play last night even. Sabonis drives into AD, puts his shoulder into him. AD goes flying and Sabonis finishes it, screams, and it just looks like a dad playing with his son in the backyard. It's just not close, it doesn't feel like. And when you look at the stats, it backs up the eye test and the 10-0 record, because Domantas Sabonis in his last 6 games versus Anthony Davis, 19 points, 15.5 rebounds, 7.3 assists, 1.5 steals per game, including 63.5% from the field and 50% from deep. Just phenomenal numbers. But you go on the flip side, Anthony Davis in his last 6 games versus Sabonis has averaged 19 points, the same, 11.2 rebounds, about 4 less, 2.5 assists, about 5 less, 1 steal, does have 2.2 blocks, so that's better than Sabonis, but just 44.4% from the field, like 20% less, and just 22.2% from 3, almost 30 points lower. It's just domination across the board for Domantas Sabonis, and he is just not someone that Anthony Davis can guard. One of the best defensive players in the league over the past 5 to 10 years has been Anthony Davis, but for some reason Sabonis just gives him fits, and it happens again and again. I would say Anthony Davis is the better player, but Sabonis head-to-head just looks like the better player every single time, so it makes it hard to really argue that. There's a lot of discussion, I would say, about who the third best center in the league is. The top 2 seems pretty locked in as Jokic and Embiid. Giannis not a center, he's a power forward, so number 3 kind of comes between Anthony Davis and Domantas Sabonis, and at least head-to-head, Sabonis is capturing that title and looks really good in doing it. And the Kings look like a disaster matchup for the Lakers if they were to meet in a play-in game or the playoffs. It's just a very bad matchup for them, and they would likely lose in probably 5 games. It just wouldn't be a super tight series because the Kings own the Lakers and Domantas Sabonis owns Anthony Davis. Not a ton of other guys really played super well for the Kings. Malik Monk puts up only 8 points, and De'Aaron Fox does put up 21 on about 45% from the field. That's okay, it's not great. We've seen a lot better Fox games, but Sabonis with 17 points, 19 rebounds, and 10 assists just picks it up for everyone else. I believe he's leading the league in triple-doubles and double-doubles this season. Maybe Luka has taken the lead for triple-doubles, but Sabonis is up there, and he's just been so good this season. And then you look at the Lakers side, Reeves played really well, but both Anthony Davis and LeBron James shoot sub 40% from the field, as does D'Angelo Russell. The Kings, not a great defensive team, but they lock up in this one, and the Kings just win this one handily. But now, after we talked about Sabonis owning Anthony Davis, which hurts me, obviously, but let's move on to some other action from around the NBA. So So, in other action around the NBA, we did have 8 other games, 9 games in total, a decent night of NBA action in a bunch of interesting storylines. We'll just go through each game and try to get an idea of what happened. The first game, not super interesting. The Magic play the Nets, and Orlando wins it, as you might expect in Orlando, 114-106. 21 for Paolo Banchero. The Magic shoot 52% from the field and 44% from deep. A lot of the Magic's success post All-Star break has really bubbled down to better three-point shooting, and that's going to be huge for them as the season goes on. Then we move on to Pistons versus Raptors, and the Pistons win 113-104. And don't look now, but the Pistons have won 3 of their last 4 games, and all of a sudden look kind of impressive. They're trying to trick us again to buy in for next season. Oh, this team has got it, but we keep saying that, so I don't know if it really means anything, but it's still impressive nonetheless. Jalen Duren was a monster in this one. 24 points, 23 rebounds, 5 assists on 89% shooting from the field. Just a dominant performance from the young big man in Detroit. Is quietly one of the brightest futures for any big in the league, but doesn't get talked about much because he plays for the Pistons. Cade has 19 points and 6 assists, but shoots only 40% from the field. This one is really Duren, and that bubbles down to the Raptors not having any centers because Jakob Poeltl out with an injury, and I believe Chris Boucher was as well. So the big man rotation for Toronto is basically Kelly Olynyk and Jonte Porter, and that's just not going to stop Jalen Duren. Emmanuel quickly did have 25 and 8, but the Raptors do lose this one. The Nuggets win a finals rematch 100-88 over the Miami Heat in Miami. 25 for Michael Porter Jr., pretty easily the best guy for Denver in this game. Jokic takes it pretty light, just 12 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, but does shoot 62.5% from the field, is clearly picking his spots and choosing to involve his teammates, and that worked to success. 17 and 13 for Bam, but really pretty much no one for Miami plays well. 42.5% from the field as a team and 24% from deep. Then we move on to Bulls versus Pacers, a game that went to overtime, which many people probably wouldn't have expected because Pascal Siakam has this monster block on Kobe White that a lot of people thought saved the game, but then we have DeMar DeRozan hitting a clutch fadeaway that sends it to overtime, and then the Bulls win it in overtime 132-129. DeMar DeRozan 46 points and was a plus 18 in a 3-point win. Just a very impressive performance from DeMar. Indiana gets 17 and 14 from Halliburton, but can't come out on top. Then we have Cavs versus Pelicans, a game where the Pelicans were favored. It was in New Orleans, but the Cavs, as they like to do all season long, are just defying the odds and winning games that people don't think they should win. 116-95, the Cavs win this one by 21, thanks to 27 and 11 from Darius Garland. They also get 15 from Sam Merrill. Sam Merrill was a plus 30, by the way, insane. Donovan Mitchell had his return game from injury, 14 points, but was a -6 and shot just 31%. The Pelicans as a team shoot 18% from 3, just 4 for 22. Not going to win a lot of games like that. The Hornets pick up another win. They beat the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. Second night of a back-to-back for Memphis, still missing a ton of key guys, and because of that, they couldn't get this one. But Vasilije Micic, the foreign guy, former EuroLeague MVP, wins this one for Charlotte because he puts up 25 and 8 on 90% from the field. It was a plus 21. For the Grizzlies, they do get 26 from Gigi Jackson. Trey Jemison, not quite as good in this one, 14 points. And Dejan Jarreau has his worst game in his third game as a Grizzly. The Mavs take down the Warriors 109-99. Still no Steph Curry. Luka Doncic, 21 points, 38.9% from the field, so not great. But Daniel Gafford still hasn't missed. 33 straight makes for Daniel Gafford now, just 3 points away from breaking Wilt's record for all-time most consecutive makes. 10 points in this one, 100% from the field. Then we have Blazers versus Hawks, a game that had no Trae Young, no Jalen Johnson, no Sadiq Bey. And then on the other side, you have no Malcolm Brogdon, no Jeremy Grant, but it still found a way to be very entertaining because DeAndre Ayton is picking it up and looking like the number one pick he was drafted to be. 33 points and 19 rebounds on 75% from the field. He has been dominant over his last 3 games. It feels like he's putting up 30 and 15 every night. It's been super impressive to watch. It took a long time this season, but it feels like he's finally settling in to a high role on this Trailblazers team, and that's what they traded for him for, and he's giving it to them. And then Anthony Simons, 36, 7, and 8. Both of those guys pretty easily positive. Plus 16 for Ayton, plus 13 for Simons in a 4-point win. DeJounte Murray did have 40, but goes minus 13, and it just didn't end up really mattering in the grand scheme of things. But that'll do it for this night in the NBA, another night in the NBA. Now let's get to the next segment. This is the Moneyline Hotline, the place that keeps your bets from going cold. The best bet of the day yesterday was a success. Nuggets minus 154 versus the Heat. This felt like one of the easiest lines I'd seen in a while. The Nuggets own Miami dating back to the finals last season, and it's just not a matchup that feels super close right now, so to get that within 200 feels really solid. Turn your 10 to 16.49. I went 25. That got me back 41. So really solid night in night one, but tonight not a bunch of great bets. I wouldn't call it a great betting night. A lot of the odds are pretty far out. Celtics minus 240 is actually the closest game according to FanDuel. Those are the best odds you'll be able to get. Minus 240 versus the Suns. You can turn that 16.49 to 23.26. If it is, you start with 25, you'd get up to about 60. But again, not a great night. Celtics, no Porzingis, and Jaylen Brown is questionable. I do still think the Celtics will win, but it does have some risk to it. Then we move on to the predictions for the day as a whole. Today, March 13th, Celtics +4, so almost a clear favorite, but not quite. A standard game over the Suns if Jaylen Brown plays. Drops to 2.6 if JB is out, but will be favored either way. Celtics minus 240. Again, turn that $10 to $14.17. Not exactly fantastic. No underdogs predicted for the day. The 6 games are all pretty clear, I would say. That's why the odds are so far out. But then we move into the parlay. If you want to take that instead of the best bet, I wouldn't blame you, especially if Giannis is promoted to active. Right now, he's probable because of a hamstring. If he's active, I like the bet because it's Knicks versus Blazers, and that one feels like a no-brainer, but that one's like minus 550, so it's not great within itself. But you combine it with the Bucks over the Sixers in Milwaukee, if it turns to a pretty solid one. As questionable as the Bucks have been as of late, I just don't believe they'll lose to a Sixers team that has failed to put up 80 points in 2 straight games. If they lose to this Sixers team, it is like sound the sirens, disaster time in Milwaukee. So take the Bucks there, the Knicks as well. Combine that minus 186, and then that's pretty solid for the day. That is one that I like. And as I'll always tell you, hey, follow the Twitter at the money_line to get the picks as soon as I have them. You'd get them on arrival. Then we move to the top 5 players of the night according to me, which starts with DeMar DeRozan at number 1. 46 points, 9 rebounds, about 63% from the field, and again was a plus 18 and a 3-point win, and hit the shot that sent it to overtime as well. A fantastic game from DeMar. DeAndre Ayton comes in at number 2, 33 points, 19 rebounds, 75% from the field, and a plus 16 in a 4-point win. Domantas Sabonis, the main topic today of the video, is at number 3, 17, 19, and 10, triple-double every night. It feels automatic. 60% from the field, continues to own AD, and the Kings get a much-needed win to help them stay well above the Lakers in the play-in race. At number 4, we have Anthony Simons, 36 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and 65% true shooting, was a plus 13 in a 4-point win. Then we have Jalen Duren rounding out the top 5, 24 points, 23 rebounds, 5 assists, and 89% from the field. A couple other guys could have made it as well. Again, DeJounte Murray had 40. Micic put up 25 on 90% 50% shooting. Austin Reeves is pretty good as well, but these are my top 5. Now let's get into the top play of the day, which is this one, the DeMar DeRozan fadeaway that sends it to overtime. What a shot from DeMar. DeMarvelous. Fantastic. Really impressive game for DeMar, and the Bulls win one against the Pacers. But now let's get into the viewer submitted questions. For the viewer submitted question, I put up a community post every day after the games where you can ask your question for a chance to get featured in the video. You can also put it in the comments of this one. That's fine. I'll find it and I'll answer it. But this one today, we have one question. It comes from Know Thyself, who asks, is son Sabonis better than father Sabonis? And this is a tough one because Arvydas Sabonis is a Hall of Famer. You know, he's a very good player. He was great for his time, but in terms of NBA careers, it's Domantas and it's not close. Arvydas Sabonis, the best season of his career in the NBA, was 16 points per game and like 8 rebounds. There were a couple seasons where he went more rebounds than that, but his most decorated season, where he was 13th in MVP voting, he puts up 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 2.4 assists per game, and it's just not close to what we're seeing from his son right now. Because Domantas Sabonis, let's just take this season against Arvydas' best season. Domantas Sabonis this season, 20.1 points per game, 13.6 rebounds, leads the league by the way, 8.4 assists, and about a steal per game. He was 7th in MVP voting last year, is a 3-time All-Star, and it's just really impressive. He's a phenomenal player. It should be a 4-time All-Star. Domantas should have been an All-Star this season. So in terms of NBA careers, again, it's Domantas and it's not close. Arvydas was never an All-Star. Domantas should be a 4-time All-Star and has like a real case to be a top 7 MVP player again for the second straight season. And again, yes, Arvydas was 13th in MVP voting one season, but again, his numbers in that year weren't fantastic. The impact was there, really started the passing big man archetype that players like Sabonis and Jokic now like fully embody, but Domantas in the NBA is better, and it's not really even an argument. I saw a response to the question that said hell no, but yes, as far as an NBA player, it is Domantas. But the big problem with that is that Arvydas came to the NBA late because he had one of the best, overseas European careers that we've ever seen. There's a reason he's a Hall of Famer. It's because he was a dominant European big man, was really good as a pro over in Europe, but just wasn't that same level of guy in the NBA. So because we're talking NBA, this is an NBA channel, Domantas Sabonis is better than his dad, and it's not all that close. But that'll do it for today. That is the end of the daily recap. Hopefully you love watching them because I love making them. The daily recap is my favorite type of video, so hopefully you enjoy it. But let me know down below, drop your comments, subscribe. I'm on the road to 13,000 subscribers, so if you enjoy the recaps, stick around, watch some more. But again, that'll be it for me today, so I hope you guys have a good one. Peace.